Dennis
Oh, my
Jenkins
God.
can't.
Can you not bring up Dennis Jenkins?
That's what I said.
The guy who was on a two-way contract, you going straight to him?
I just said he's too small. I
can't
said
be
he's
the
not
guy.
enough.
No,
I said that's why
man.
you need another
He's
guy.
the only
He's a
one-
good backup.
I'm going to say Danny. He's the Cade and Dennis Jenkins is the only two players I'm keeping. The rest of them, I'm exploring trade options. Yeah. I'm exploring that.
I'm keeping Paul Reed.
I'm exploring.
Tobias has shown like I can get him at a cheap deal.
Is he going into? He's going into his free agency.
You can get him another little 2-year deal for something cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like,
if you want something,
what are you
close to
trying to
26
do?
mil,
Danny, think about
20
this.
is cheap in today's league.
Danny, think about this. They were a number 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
So as a number 1 seed comes expectations. What are you trying to do as a number 1 seed? Win a championship,
For sure, but they don't have the expectations championship.
They didn't come into the season with championship expectations.
It
We
don't
can
matter.
say that.
Expectations change as the
nobody
year,
expected them
as
to
the
win a
year goes on. When you figure out who you are, when you figure out who your identity is, expectations change. For the Boston Celtics, once you got Tatum back, the expectations went from, no, not only are we a playoff team, we can win it all.
Yeah.
When Detroit ended the season as the number 1 seed, blew New York out 3 times, the expectation was, no, we not only could get to the second round this year because we didn't last year, we might could get to the finals. Look at us, guy. We're pretty damn good. Going into the playoffs, that was their expectations. Believe me. I know that locker room was talking about that.
For sure.
You have to be. Why wouldn't you be? You won 60 games and you're the number 1 seed. You have to be talking championship.
Like you said might be. We might be able to go to the finals. Now, if, say, San Antonio loses, you going to make drastic changes?
No, Danny.
Boston, do you make drastic changes with Boston?
San Antonio.
So again, my thing is,
look
these
at
guys
the roster.
They're young.
Look at the roster.
You know what I'm saying?
This roster has no upside.
It's a little different.
Unless Asar comes back and he's shooting threes like Klay Thompson. All right,
that's my
cool.
point. They didn't.
That's not gonna happen.
Nobody expected to win a
You
championship.
can't compare them to San Antonio for a couple of reasons. San Antonio has played at a way higher level.
You expect the championship for San Antonio? This is where my analogy is coming in. Do you expect, because you expect the championship in Boston,
I don't think
do you make drastic change? No, they're young.
And even
you
Boston
even
is
them as
different.
being better contenders than Detroit, you don't expect a championship. So you're not going to make drastic changes because they're so young. Detroit is young and
San Antonio, I'm looking at San Antonio like, wait a minute.
If San Antonio loses
they have a chance, but you don't expect a championship.
If San Antonio loses
who do you
to
expect
OKC,
the championship from except a team?
You can't compare that.
As a 1 seed, OKC, you didn't expect.
Because
What
they're
I'm
the
saying is you didn't
defending
expect it
champs.
from Detroit because they're not.
Hold on, Danny, but I'm just saying there's a difference, though. San Antonio did not lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers. If they lose this season, it's going to be to the world champs. The team that's won 65-plus games
For sure.
2
But
years
if
in a
they
row.
lost
It's not the same. They didn't go down
not the
3-1
same.
to a shitty-ass Orlando Magic team that nobody expected
I
anything
understand.
from.
It is different.
It's different.
I understand that, but my point is, even as a 1 seed, you did not expect a championship from them.
I didn't.
You're not shocked they lost to Cleveland.
I
expected
You'd
them.
be shocked that San Antonio lost to
Cavs to
Minnesota,
the Pistons
but you
in the
wouldn't be like you'd be like, oh shit, Minnesota's actually
For sure.
a veteran team. Like they're capable of beating San Antonio. You'd be a little shocked, but you'd be so crazy. Detroit,
Sure.
even as a 1 seed with 60 games, you did not expect them to do a lot.
But here's the problem, though,
did.
Danny. Here's the problem.
I expect them to be in the conference final. I expect every number 1 seed to be in the conference final. You know, they got a lot of guys on their team who are just like liabilities on offense. Let's just call it what it is.
And some on defense.
I mean, but they're built on defense. Yeah. They're built a hard hat. When I think of Detroit, I think of all the great Detroit teams, and that's what they modeled their team around, that type of identity.
Right.
You know, they're not flashy. Who on this team is flashy? Ain't nobody ain't no glitz and glamour. Ain't no shininess to the newness of this. This is straight.
Is a
this is straight
player?
out the mud. This is mud. This is grit, grind. This is in the mold of that. Yeah. And they didn't even give me that game 7. Yeah. I didn't see nobody throwing no elbows. I didn't see nobody going to the ground. All I see was Cleveland getting offensive rebounds. It's like they got discouraged off what their offense wasn't giving them, and it affected their defense. Yeah. Like, that's what it looked like.
That's what happened.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, that ain't y'all, bro. Like, Jalen Durant ain't had a good offensive outing in none of this series. He was decent last game. I mean, he was decent. But the whole series, he was below his average. But so today. What? Give me a presence on the rebound. Give me a presence on the defense with some hard fouls. The same with Asar. Like, come on, bro. Like, for the offense that you don't bring, you should bring triple the defense and the effort and that hard hat mentality. And I did not see that. Like, I was so disappointed at the effort of the urgency for a Game 7. I would have thought this was the first game of the first regular season game of the season the way Detroit played. That's what it looked like. It didn't look like life on the line, season on the line, at home to advance. It didn't look like that for me.
Real quick, Paul George is going apeshit. Paul Pierce is going apeshit on what the Pistons should do. I'll blow it up. I think it's impulsive. I think it's overreaction, in my opinion. I don't think they need to get rid of everybody. But the question is also, if you're gonna keep Duren and Asar Thompson, then some things have to happen. It have to happen, but I don't think it's that drastic. I know how he feels. You see a lot of young guys come in this league, they don't develop. But I think Jenkins with that contract is going to be attractive not to trade when you need to get somebody. That contract and how well Jenkins is playing. But, I got a video talking about eventually, trading Asar Thompson and Duren. That's changing the DNA of this team, especially Stewart. You got to keep that DNA intact. You got to build around those guys, at least one of those guys with Cade. You got to build around either Cade and Duren, Cade and Asar Thompson. You got to build around them. And, if it's one, I'll probably keep Asar Thompson at this point. He's just an elite defender. And I just hopefully offensively he figures it out. But, it's not that drastic. But at this point, am I willing and able to get rid of, to get anybody? Yeah, but you can't change the DNA of this team too much. So I think at that point, Stewart, Thompson, Cade, Asar, 3 of those got to be a part of it. So they got to be a part of it. So if you go Cade, Stewart, Thompson, and you look to sign and trade, Jalen Duren, so be it. If you can sign and trade Jalen Duren, and let's say you put him down there in Dallas and you get Kyrie in the deal with Jalen Duren and you bring back Lively or Gafford, I think you're completely fine with that. If you can swing Klay Thompson too, put Klay with those guys, cool. But if you can get Kyrie and one of them big fellas down there and you get them Duren, I'll be happy with that. Then you could take, some of your draft capital and some more players, maybe Ron Holland and maybe a couple other people, and you can go get Lauri Markkanen. Hey, I'll be happy with that. So you go Kyrie, Gafford or Lively, Lauri Markkanen and those guys, and you hear people talking about bringing in a Kristaps Porzingis for a cheap deal. I would do it. I would bring in Kristaps Porzingis on the cheap. So yeah, but a drastic blow up, like get rid of everybody but Cade and Daniss Jenkins. No, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Too much changing too much of the DNA. I think Thompson, Stewart, Cade, Duren, 3 of those guys got to be a part of it. I think you got to throw Jenkins in there too, because he's part of the grit culture too. So yeah, I just think Paul Pierce is a smidget over. There's a lot of overreaction. Like Danny was saying, they too young. They still figuring out. They playing with house money. But I do understand where Paul is coming at, kind of being that middle ground of what him and Danny Green and other guys talking about. They gotta get Cade help. They're gonna run him into the ground. So they gotta get a guy next to Cade that can flat out score and ball handle and score. And they gotta get somebody from the 4 that can knock down that, who could defend that position, or they just a dog ass rebounder, shooter, and scorer. So basically what I'm saying is a 3-and-D guy who can rebound a smidget, or a guy like Trey Murphy who can defend at a high level, catch and shoot, and showing he can do some other things, or Lauri Markkanen who gonna rebound at a good clip, who gonna score at a good clip, not the best defender. You can live with that. But changing the DNA is gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Not changing the DNA is going to be tough. But if it's me, I'm going for Kyrie, Trey Murphy, Lauri Markkanen. I'm trying to get that done. I know people say, I don't like Kyrie. I think Kyrie would be perfect. He love Cade, great ball handler, experience there. He's a winner. I think he's matured through the years, and I think he do great things in a black city like Detroit. I think from that standpoint, he'd be a great philanthropist. But alternative options, I don't know who's available. I know you got some young guys that's going to be on there, but if it's alternative options, I like Zach LaVine. He's one of my favorite players. He ain't never won. If he healthy, I'm not worried about it. He ain't been in a lot of winning cultures. Minnesota, Chicago, Sacramento. Come on, man. I think if they can get Duncan Robinson to defend at the level that he defended at, I think they can get Zach LaVine to defend at a high level. And all you got to do is come here and be yourself. He can shoot, he can score, he can dunk. Flat out. He on a 1-year deal, so it ain't going to break you for one more year, $49 million. I put him out there, put him with Markkanen or Trey, or most likely Trey Murphy in that situation, somebody that can defend. And I let it go. I let it roll. So the thing about Kyrie and I say Zach LaVine, with Devin Booker, you got to pay a bunch of money to get him and a bunch of assets. With Kyrie and then LaVine, we got to give up a lot of assets. You got to pay them. Not as much as Devin Booker. Probably not even combined what they make. I'm joking, but you can get them and a little bit some with them, and then still get your Trey Murphy and roll into next year. But no, we'll see what happens. Appreciate y'all. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.